9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2,
Manchester
1,
United have
0.
reached the promised land.
How are we doing, everyone? Sam here, live on United People's TV. It's not Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. What am I doing here, you all say? Well, I'm here with a little cheeky extra Saturday morning stream. I've got a decent night's kip, and it's shining. The sun is shining outside, so sod it. I thought I'd come on here, jump on and speak and run through the latest on Erik Ten Hag. And the reason I wanted to do a stream this morning is because the journalist to listen to when it comes to news on Erik Ten Hag has been speaking. Mike Verweij from Telegraph out in the Netherlands. He's been speaking about Erik Ten Hag. We're going to run through all the quotes from him and the notion that maybe we could be waiting until the end of the season before we get anything official when it comes to Ten Hag. I'll run through that story with you. I'm also going to be running through the latest from the Mirror on that situation. Some interesting points there from Simon Mullock. And also, quite importantly, going to be running through what Ralf Rangnick said in his press conference last night. The first press conference back from the international break, the first press conference since all this Ten Hag and Pochettino situation really sort of kicked off. And it's interesting to hear what Ralf has to say, I think, anyway. And the reason I'm doing this extra live stream here this morning is because we play Leicester this evening. So I think the conversation will change a little bit later on today, obviously after the game, and the talking points will be different. So I wanted to have this conversation with you this morning because I don't think we would have been able to have it tomorrow. That's what I think anyway. Oh, look, we've got someone watching in from North Macedonia. How you doing, buddy? Grant, good morning to you. Ant, good morning to you. Who else we got down there? Members in the comments. We've got T, we've got Anthony, we've got Rego, we've got Miles. How you doing, Miles? Anuj, you're there too. Ice Cold Moe, as always, down there. Takeoff. John McCulloch, how you doing, buddy? Hey, plenty of you down there in the comments. How are you all doing? Drop a like on the video. It's a Saturday stream. Look at me working overtime. Don't say I don't treat you well. But let's run through it. We all ideally would love an Erik Ten Hag announcement right now. Him holding an up a United shirt. Hunky-dory. Sweet. Let's go. We've got Ten Hag in. Move on. In reality, maybe that's made difficult by what's going on at Ajax this season. But this is what Mike Verweij, as I said, from Telegraph, Telegraph, don't know how you say it, is the most reliable Dutch newspaper when it comes to Ajax news. And Mike Verweij is your tier one. He's the man to go to. So when Mike speaks, we have a little listen. So this is what he said. He said that Erik Ten Hag is the top candidate to become Manchester United's new manager. He is the number one option. He is allowed to leave for a little more than 2 million euros, which is his release clause. That's cheap as chips. Now, what is that release clause? That release clause went into his contract. Remember when Ten Hag signed a one-year contract extension with Ajax? He did that last year. He did that and inserted this clause inside that contract. So he knew that no matter what went on, he could leave this summer for that fixed fee of 2 million euros. Cheap as hell. Now, you might say that Pochettino will be cheaper because he's free, and it probably would be. But in the grand scheme of how much Manchester United have... Look, for example, completely opposite case, Julian Nagelsmann. I believe that Bayern Munich paid Leipzig in the region of about 20 million euros for Nagelsmann. That's how much they had to pay to prize him away from there, and they were covering their asset. Ten Hag's leaving Ajax at the end of this season. I've said that as well. Whether it's to United or not, well, I suppose it remains to be seen. But it's this point here which is the most interesting thing that Mike said and that we have to have a conversation about. He said that I suppose the key word here is I think. It is not saying anything official here, but this is just from his information, how he knows that Ajax operates and how he knows that Erik Ten Hag operates. He says, I think the decision will already be made before the season ends, but I believe it won't be officially communicated until the season is done. Now, I want to know what your reaction to that is. How do you think Manchester United navigate that? Because it's quite a difficult situation to be in, really. You've got a fan base which, let's be honest, is clamoring. We're all clamoring for news, official news on our new manager. Is it going to be Ten Hag? Is it going to be Poch? Why can't we get a deal done? What's happened with this second interview? We're clamoring. Is it because we're impatient? I think to a certain degree, all modern day football fans are a little bit impatient. It's just the way that the culture goes. It's just the way that the world's culture has gone. Everybody wants something yesterday. So there will certainly be an element of a lack of patience with what's going on with Ten Hag. But Manchester United have got to do this in the way that Ajax want this to be done. And Erik Ten Hag will want this whole deal done exactly how Ajax want it to be done. Now, I went on record on Twitter yesterday and I said, was it this? This is what I said. I said, you know what's hilarious? The notion that Ajax won't want to have a Ten Hag to United announcement because they're in a title race. The reason I said that is because PSV announced Van Nistelrooy as their head coach, 3 days ago? Obviously, it's a little bit different at PSV because at PSV, who are the title challengers for Ajax, 1 point behind, 2 points behind them, I think, in the Eredivisie. Their manager announced, I think at the start of February, that he was leaving the club at the end of the season. So that was already done and dusted. So the idea that Van Nistelrooy is being announced there, they already know that the manager's leaving at the end of the season. So I know it's a little bit different. But it's just interesting, I suppose, the way that PSV are operating a little bit differently there to Ajax. I'm going to go down to the comments in a minute, and I really want to know your opinion on this. Do you think that Mike is right there? Do you think that we might be waiting until the end of the season before anything official comes out? I don't know how Manchester United navigate that. It's a tough situation. Rue was also the reserve team manager at PSV. Yeah, that is a point I didn't take into consideration. I'll be honest. It was an internal appointment. John, you're saying everyone has to respect what Erik Ten Hag is doing at Ajax, and it is correct to wait for the announcement. We just need to be patient. Yeah, the logic says that. But as I said, it's going to be quite difficult to navigate. The idea that it's the 2nd of April now, end of the season. Let's have a look at the date at the end of the season in Ajax fixtures. Let's have a look at Ajax's fixtures and when their last game is of the season. Ajax's last game of the season is on the 15th of May. So we're looking at roughly 6 weeks until the end of the Ajax season. I'll be interested to know really what you think about how Manchester United, as I said, I keep saying the word there, but navigate these next 6 weeks with such a huge clamour for a Ten Hag announcement to be done yesterday. How do Manchester United do that? Good morning to you, Paula. Roger, you're thinking it's going to be announcement at the end of the season. Let's go down here and see what else you're saying. This is the same vibes that Van Gaal gave to the media before he became manager of United. I remember him getting interviewed out with training with the Netherlands, but that was a little bit different because, he was taking the Netherlands to the World Cup. Yeah, but I reckon we will start looking for transfer targets, says Miles. Now, this is the thing. I apologize. It's showing me my Wi-Fi is starting to get a bit weak. Don't you be doing that. Don't you be doing that. Jackie, you're saying a delayed announcement is fine, but we cannot only make plans after the announcement. The plan should already be started once Erik's is confirmed. That in itself is completely and utterly correct. So maybe, let's speak hypothetically, we don't get an official announcement from Manchester United or Ajax until the 15th of May that Ten Hag is our manager. But plans have got to start. That deal has to be signed. I'll be honest, it's going to be impossible for them to hold that leak. We're going to hear it from journalists. We're going to hear it from David Ornstein. We're going to hear it from Fabrizio Romano. We're going to hear it from someone. We're going to hear that done deal. Ten Hag has signed a Manchester United contract. He will become Manchester United's manager next season, or Pochettino, whichever one it is. But we won't get that official announcement from Ajax or Manchester United confirming it until the end of the season. That's probably the most likely situation, isn't it? Takeoff, you're talking about Ten Hag and Anthony. I'm going to be speaking about that next. Don't worry about that. We're also forgetting one salient point. Ajax need to find a new manager themselves. I would think they would want that sewn up before announcing Ten Hag leaving. Ajax have always been very good at forward planning, and so I'll be extremely surprised if they don't have that shortlist already, because they knew what was going on this season. It's not, as I said, the notion that Ten Hag was leaving Ajax at the end of the season, for me, was pretty obvious. As I said, the story was coming to a conclusion. There was no way he was going to sort of rebuild again after they probably sell Anthony this year, whether to United or not, I don't know. And said they're going to be selling Gravenberch to Bayern Munich. So that team there, Ajax again, is probably going to get taken apart. So I think it was ever going to happen that Ten Hag was going to build it for a third time. So I believe that Ajax have already got their candidates already written down, and it's just a case of whether they need to execute it or not. Go down here and read a few more of your comments. Why keep talking about it when you know nothing, says John. Well, that's not a very nice thing to say, John. Is it? Saturday morning. Sunny. Should be coming in here chirpy in the comments. I thought Ajax wanted Van Persie to be their manager, says Miles. I don't think they do that. Has he had any jobs? Yeah, I don't think he has. I don't believe that they would go there. Steve, you're saying from Australia, I don't understand why United are waiting. Just go and get Ten Hag now. Steve, this isn't really, as I said, at this point, as much as Manchester United, and we know that they delay things, we know that they dither, we know that they take their sweet, sweet time. Partly, this is just a circumstantial and out of Manchester United's hands because of what's going. If Ajax were third in Eredivisie and had a little bit of a shit season, we probably would have had the announcement, right? Go down here and really feel. Sar, what are you saying? Sam, whenever it's announced, it's okay as long as it's going to be Ten Hag at the dugout. I'm okay with it. Do you think he could bring Ryan Gravenberch? He's going to Bayern Munich. He looks like an absolute mustard of a midfielder. Really, really does. For his age, anyway. D. Mick, you disagree with someone earlier. You say you love your show. Big up the comments, man. Appreciate that. Make sure you subscribe if you're new. Although you have commented, so you are a subscriber. Haha. Ajax can have Poch for free. There you go. Imagine that. Then Ajax can go and win the treble with him. Simple as that. So read a few more of your comments and let's move on. It could be what the second interview is about, how they keep it quiet in respect for Ajax. Jack, that's an excellent comment there over on Facebook. Thank you for that, Jack. Yeah, I think that's probably true. Maybe that's this. The first interview was all about the standard questions you'd ask in a first interview. And I've said this before as well. Don't you find it a bit funny? I suppose funny is the wrong word, but compare what happened after Ten Hag was interviewed to after Poch was interviewed. After Ten Hag was interviewed, every single journalist was waxing lyrical. Like every single one from Paul Hurst to James Ducker, talking about how positive and how impressed Manchester United were. Poch was interviewed and it was like, boop. There wasn't really much being said. I don't know whether that's just because of the narrative of how things are being portrayed in the media, but I found that quite funny. When it comes to Ten Hag, though, this little update from Simon Mullock last night, this is an interesting one, certainly to consider as well. And I suppose this is part of the fear that United fans have, and a little bit of fear that I've got too. Two other clubs also have the Dutchman on their radar. One, a powerful Bundesliga outfit, and both have already made him serious offers. Ajax chief executive Van der Sar has also offered to hand him a new deal that would double his salary. But the former United keeper is already braced for Ten Hag's departure. So Simon Mullock from the Mirror there saying that not only does Ten Hag have interest from two other clubs, one of them a big club in the Bundesliga, and we have to presume that's going to be Borussia Dortmund, he's already got two offers. And Manchester United at this moment in time, as far as we know, haven't offered anything to Ten Hag, and they won't until that second interview stage has happened. So Ten Hag getting an offer from Dortmund, let's pretend it's Dortmund. Well, who else is it going to be? Dortmund, Leipzig. I don't think he'd go to Leipzig. And Bayern Munich have got Nagelsmann, so I don't think he's going there. And an English team. Two offers already on the table and a third offer to double his salary. He's not going to be short of offers. And it's up to Manchester United to get this deal, even if it's behind closed doors, get this deal wrapped up. As Darren said, this should be done and dusted. Look, at this moment in time, right, it's fully expected that Ten Hag becomes United manager. And I'm judging that by the momentum I'm seeing in the media, every reporter that I trust and what they're saying, and the way that the story is navigating. That my judgment on that is that Ten Hag to United is expected at this point. He's not just the top candidate. He's like the outstanding number one candidate. And that's coming from, as I said, the most reliable journalist when it comes to any news from Ajax. It comes from Mike Verweij, and it comes Verweij. It's definitely not Verweij. I need to get him on an interview. I'm trying to get him on for an interview, but he hasn't responded just at this moment in time. But I'm going to keep pushing to try and get Mike on because it'd be really interesting to have a chat with him about it. Chris, you're saying, look at his CV, the fear factor he's going to put into the players. We'll easily win something with him. I don't think you're talking. I don't know who you're talking about there. NK, don't worry. We're going to be speaking about the show a little bit later on. And Ian, you're saying, do we think Ralf had an influence on us getting Ten Hag over Poch? Well, I suppose it depends on what stories you read. If we go over here and we see what's being written in the Daily Mail from Dominic King, he's saying Ralf Rangnick has recommended Erik Ten Hag to be Manchester United's next manager. Now, I hope that's the case. Again, this is pure speculation. I'm not here saying that Rangnick's taken a huge role in it. And if I'm being completely honest, it leads perfectly into the second conversation that we're having this morning. As I said, that's the updates from Mike. That's the updates from Mike from the Telegraph. As I said, basically the tier one journalist. He's going to be the leading voice when it comes to this Ten Hag situation. I can pretty much guarantee that the story will break through him, right? let's go back to what Ralf Rangnick has been saying, because I think this is quite an interesting comment. All of us have, we've all wanted Ralf Rangnick to be heavily involved in the process, right? We all feel if he's there as a consultant, he has to be consulted. This is what he said yesterday in his press conference, the second one that went out at 10:30, the embargoed second part. Said, I don't know about Manchester United's managerial process. I know they've spoken to some people, but so far we haven't spoken about the experience and the impressions they have got from those meetings. And Ralf is a man who has built a reputation of being honest at Manchester United, isn't he? It's something that came as a really refreshing thing to me to hear. He's not a man who's sort of, I wouldn't say he's not media trained. That's the wrong way to describe it, but he's got nothing to hide. And when you've got nothing to hide, you can just be honest with something. And that's the way he carries himself. And he's known as an honest individual. So if Rangnick's saying there that he's not really been involved, he hasn't even spoken to John Murtough or Darren Fletcher about what happened with Ten Hag or Poch, then he probably hasn't. Which for me speaks of a bit of a worry, because he's got to be consulted, right? That's the concept of a consultant. Maybe it's different if he's a manager and at this moment in time he's not getting consulted. I don't know. But what's your reaction to that? The idea that Ralf, at this moment in time, doesn't actually know what was said in those meetings because he hasn't been privy to those conversations. You let me know what you think about that in the comments. Dave Davies, you're saying, how you doing, buddy? Wish he could bring Edwin van der Sar with him. Dave, I hope that happens. Van der Sar has already spoken about joining Manchester United previously. I think it will happen, and I'm hoping it will happen at the end of Rangnick's consultancy role, or maybe during it. I don't know. That's what I think anyway. Jedi, you've thrown in a super chat there, my friend, but you haven't left a comment. If you just leave a normal comment, I'll try and read it out next time. I'll see if I can catch your name. Jibak, how you doing, buddy? You're saying Erik Ten Hag said he will sit down with Ajax at the end of the season. It means we won't announce him before June, even if we had a gentleman's agreement in place with Ten Hag. It can't be a gentleman's agreement that we have in place with Ten Hag. We've got to get a signed contract. He has to sign a contract to become Manchester United's manager. How that gets portrayed in the media officially by Manchester United and Ajax, that's up to the two clubs to decide. And if Ajax would have their own way, then there would be no announcement until the end of the season. As I said, the last game of the season, 15th of May. Because Ajax are out the Champions League, there's no Champions League final there. The League Cup final, well, they're playing out on the 17th of April, so in 15 days' time, we could see Ten Hag holding a trophy in the air. That would be cool to watch. Scott, you're saying talking about Ralf, you're saying he only has to be consulted next season. He's a manager this season first and foremost. Yes, he is a manager this season first and foremost, Scott, but also this season, in my opinion, is pretty much dead and buried. What I want to do now, next 10, 15 minutes or so, is run through all of the Rangnick comments from, as I said, continuing on from that. But before I quickly do, actually, I thought this was a nice little snippet from Mike, from our friend Mike as well. He was asked about the potential arrival of Antony at Manchester United with Ten Hag. And he said, agree or disagree? If Ten Hag goes to Manchester United, he'll take Antony with him. And he said, agree. I would love that. Of course, who wouldn't love that? Anybody who's watched a bit of Ajax this season, let's not pretend that we've watched him week in, week out, and we know exactly what sort of player Antony is. But he has very much been able to come into that club and fill the hole that Ziyech left when he joined Chelsea. Ziyech was and is a more rounded, he's a more rounded player at this age. But at 22, Antony is somebody who's very direct, very tricky, proper Brazilian type of a winger. And he's been very exciting to watch at Ajax. And that was an excellent signing by Erik Ten Hag and his team. And obviously, he's been linked to Manchester United. Fabrizio Romano said it as well. This will be interesting to watch as it goes on. And of course, this kind of ties back into this whole concept that Ten Hag might not be officially announced until the end of the season. Because if that is the case, okay, right, that's the case. But United have got to get this deal done and dusted, behind the scenes, contract signed, so that the plans can start being executed before the end of the season. Because trust me, if we don't do a thing until the 15th of May, and then Ten Hag is announced, then we've got how long before we go away on pre-season? I think we play on the 12th of July in Bangkok. So that'll be 2 months. Technically, that's a lot of time, but you could always give yourself longer. Let's go down here. Sam, we really need a coach and a good one. Well, Thomas, you're preaching to the choir there. We absolutely do. Turgi, you're saying good morning. A little worried that Ralf will not get more influence when it comes to the manager job. Nice to see you there, Turgi. Yeah, I'm worried as well. I am worried. And as I said, Ralf is somebody who has built a reputation at Manchester United in a short space of time of being honest and not to a fault, just like good honesty from Ralf. So to hear him saying there that he hasn't really spoken to anybody in Manchester United about the experience of those interviews with Ten Hag and Pochettino and what went right and what didn't go right and the impressions they got from the meetings. For me, that's a little bit of a worry. But as you correctly say in the comments as well, like, Rangnick's the manager, man. I know the idea of the consultant, but technically that consultancy position starts next season when he's not manager. So that's fair enough. And who knows, maybe we'll win every game between now and the end of the season. Arsenal's asses will fall out and we'll finish top 4. I don't really think that's the case. We'll speak about that, though. I'm going to do a little bit of, we can have a little chat about Leicester at the end of the stream. Don't worry about that. I'll give you my prediction too. But look, let's go through now what else Rangnick had to say, because there was some really interesting things he said. This quote in particular was quite good. He said, it's not only a question of money, but a question of what kind of idea do you have behind that? What kind of philosophy? And how do you want to play? It's not only a question of money. And it's absolutely not a question of money. And that comment from Ralf leans heavily towards Erik Ten Hag. Because if we're talking about how a team plays, we're talking about philosophy. I've done this in quite a lot of detail. If you haven't already, please go over to the channel and watch the videos I've done on Pochettino's philosophy and Ten Hag's philosophy. Using interviews from Poch and Ten Hag, what have they said about their own philosophy? It's not about what other people think about it. What have they said? And as I said in those videos, if there's going to be a book written in 10 years' time about one of them, it's going to be written about Ten Hag in terms of his philosophy, his style of play, his principles. Ten Hag's so loyal to his style that it's very, very clearly identifiable, and is somebody that a coach in 15, 20 years' time coming through will probably use Ten Hag as a bit of inspiration in the same way that Ten Hag has used Guardiola, in the same way that Ten Hag has used Cruyff. Somebody in the future will probably use Ten Hag. I'm not sure anybody's really going to be using Pochettino's philosophy. I think they'll be using Pochettino's style and characteristics of man management. I think that's where Poch is very strong. But in terms of a style of player or philosophy, he doesn't really have one per se. That's what I think anyway. Jedi, how you doing here, buddy? You're saying regardless of the manager we get, we need to get rid of lazy, bad attitude players or nothing will change. Well, you're absolutely spot on there. And as I said, Jedi, and I've said it before to a lot of people, said I don't really think that we can have too many conversations in the comments, not in the comments, sorry, with videos. I've got a long list of Ten Hag videos that I'm going to be doing. Already thought about quite a lot of them, and they're good, but they need to come out at the right time. So for me to do, I know there's quite a few people who have done it already, a Ten Hag keep or sell. I just think that's a bit of a premature conversation. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I should be doing it. Let me know, actually. Do you think I should be doing it and then maybe revisiting it in a month or 6 weeks' time when the actual announcement is done? You let me know if you want me to do that video or not. If there's enough of you, maybe I should. Gary, you're saying morning, Sam. Morning, fellow Reds. Great news and a must-win game tonight. Absolutely is a must-win game tonight. Ten Hag could maybe just... Obviously, I'm not going to ever do that comparison. The comparisons have been done already, right? And they probably will be. But there will not be another Sir Alex Ferguson. Ever. Not just at Manchester United. Ever. In any club. Ever. So it's the idea that he could be the next Fergie, I think is completely wrong. There will never be another Fergie. He will just be the first Erik Ten Hag at Manchester United. And it's something that he's clearly sort of expressed in his interviews. He's like, I don't want to be the next Cruyff. I don't want to be a next Guardiola. I want to be Erik Ten Hag. He wants to like define his own path. And I think that's absolutely correct. Rickerman, what are you here saying? You're saying, Sam, did you see Guardiola's comments on Ten Hag? He said he would get Ten Hag if his contract was up at Man City. Look, I was going to do this later on, but you, sir, have sent in a super chat. So I will bring it. I will bring that conversation forward. Why not? That's what happens. I do interact sometimes. Of course I do. I interact loads. Let's go here. This is what Pep Guardiola's had to say on the situation. Said Guardiola. He said, Erik Ten Hag is an incredible person and about his qualities. Take a look at his Ajax in the last few years. A joy to watch in many ways. No need to apologise down there, Jordan. That's what the comments are all about. You send in your comments. I can agree with them or disagree with them. Opinions are like arseholes. Everyone's got one. Some are dirty. Some are lovely and clean. Went too far on that one, didn't I? But look, Guardiola's been waxing lyrical about Ten Hag. Some of you may come to me and say, hey, Sam, Guardiola waxed lyrical about Rangnick before he came in. And yeah, I think Rangnick's been a very good appointment by Manchester United. I stand by the fact that that was one of the smartest decisions this club has made in a long time. And I don't believe we would be in this position. I think we probably already have Poch in if we got someone else as the interim manager. I think Rangnick's part of a changing thought process at Manchester United. That's the way I see it anyway. But Guardiola there, we're just I've said this before as well. We're lucky that Liverpool have got Jurgen Klopp. No, I'm not lucky that Liverpool, but at this moment in time with us chasing Ten Hag, we're lucky that Liverpool are fine and settled with Klopp. We're lucky that City are fine and settled currently with Guardiola. Because I swear to God, if this was a year later, after this season, I think there is a chance that Guardiola could walk out and Ten Hag could just walk straight in through that door. And it would just be a continuation of everything that's gone on at City. And that would be terrible. Absolutely terrible. Dave, you're saying, have a good day, Sam. Get that picture up. It is down there, Dave. I promise I'm going to put it up. It's just, I've been a bit busy. I haven't forgotten that. Don't worry about that. I've said all along that I thought Ten Hag was a target for City when Pep leaves. This is a huge thing, man. Absolutely huge thing. As I said, we have to consider ourselves fortunate that City aren't in a position to go in for Ten Hag. Because if City were in a position to go after Ten Hag wouldn't look twice at United. I don't think anyway. His ambition when he leaves Ajax is to win the Champions League, is to win titles, is to build on the success. As I said, if Ajax's season goes correct between now and the end of the season, Ten Hag's going to win his third domestic double. Got them to the first Champions League final in '97. An excellent CV to begin with, yeah, but it's not going to be what Ten Hag's remembered for. Ten Hag will be remembered for what his next step is. If he could go to City, he would go to City, right? I think the biggest question we all have is what does waxing lyrical mean? Waxing lyrical means it's just somebody who's sort of gushing about somebody. It's somebody who just like heaps praise on somebody. If you're waxing lyrical, is like you can't find a fault in that person. And that really is what Guardiola's doing there with Ten Hag. I think he would love to. Obviously, Guardiola's worked with Ten Hag before. They've got a relationship together. So that's not just about what he's seeing at Ajax, is what he knows and remembers from his time of Ten Hag coming to Bayern Munich. And that was, as I said before, that was a powerful move by Ten Hag to do that. He went from being assistant manager to Steve McLaren at Twente in Holland and stepped back into youth football simply to be in the Bayern Munich setup, simply to be able to learn from Guardiola. It's a move which definitely was the sort of foundation of what's made Ten Hag the manager he is now. It was a risky move from him, though. Absolutely. Unlike us, says Ant, the powers at City actually listen to what their manager has to say. Yeah, well, let's hope that changes at Manchester United, but I might just be blindly hoping at that point. But let's dive into, when it comes to the press conferences from Ralf Rangnick, the one in the afternoon is always tame as hell. There's hardly ever any interesting talking points, are there? It's basically Ralf Rangnick giving a little bit of team news, a little bit of injury news, and the questions that we all want answered are never answered until the embargo 10:30. That's just the way the cookie crumbles, as Bruce Almighty says. That's an excellent reference there. Jedi Knight, I see you down there. Sent a super chat and joined in as a member this morning. Lovely to have you as part of the family, mate. Let me know where you're watching from in the comments, and I'll give you a shout out down in the comments. But as always, any member on the channel, you'll always notice that I read members' comments out first and foremost. That's because that's a perk of being a member on the channel. Members literally come up a different color in the comments. So it's always easy for me to identify the comments from members. It's just a perk. It's just a perk. Eh? And also, Jedi, check out the community tab on the YouTube page, because there is a link to the WhatsApp group in there, which you can now join. Nice seeing you in there. But look, let's carry on. Let's see what else Ralf Rangnick is saying. And before I do, if you are enjoying this, it's Saturday, man. Drop a like on the video. We've got a game later. We've got a game in 6.5 hours against Leicester. I'm going to be speaking about the team news. We've got about another 5, 10, 15 minutes, about 10 minutes or so, talking about what Rangnick had to say. And then we'll move on to the team news. Don't worry about that. This is what else he said. He said, if Manchester United draws the right conclusion on what has happened in the last couple of years, yes, the last couple of years have not been as good as expected, but if they draw the right conclusions, I see a very bright future for this club. And when Rangnick is saying that, he's effectively saying, look at what you've ballsed up. Look at all these decisions that you've got wrong. And let's shift that narrative. Let's shift that mentality. Let's shift that thought process. And let's move forward. Because he's right. This squad is aging in certain regards. I think there's like 10 players over 30. We've got Lingard, Pogba, Cavani leaving on a free. But we've got foundations in there. Bruno Fernandes, we're going to be building around him. Jadon Sancho, absolute world star already at 21. Only going to get better. There's certain players inside this setup that we can really start kicking towards. And I like Rangnick's. I just like listening to Ralf Rangnick speak. I don't know whether I overplay certain things he says, but I just like the intelligence. He says everything with a purpose and a meaning. There's no those comments that you get from I'm not going to talk about. I'm sure if he was asked about players at other clubs, he would just go to that sort of, I'm not going to speak about a player at another club. But I like listening to what Rangnick has to say. I like how he presents himself. And he gives me hope about what's going forward as long as he's involved in that process. And that's why that comment there worried me a little bit. The idea that he's kind of on the periphery of this decision when it comes to Ten Hag or Poch. But maybe at the same time as that, he's been involved at this point where he has recommended Ten Hag and he can't really do much more. I don't know, but you can let me know what you think about that. Barry watching from Cameroon, good morning to you, my friend. He's saying, Ant saying, draw the right conclusion means what I'm telling you. You absolute muppets because listen to what I'm telling you. Yeah, he does know about football. Ralf, I've said this before. Ralf is somebody who a lot of people, when Ralf came into Manchester United, they were like, how is he successful? What's he won? What titles has he won? Success can be measured in different ways. Success is kind of a subjective thought. What you consider successful for your day-to-day basis might not be what someone else considers successful. And I consider Ralf Rangnick extremely successful in building Hoffenheim up into a Bundesliga club, in building Leipzig up from the bottom, second tier. He was the manager in the second tier, brought them into the Bundesliga and made them into a top 6 team with Hasenhüttl within the space of 3 seasons. He's had huge success in establishing clubs and building clubs. And that's what Manchester United need at the moment. We need that. We need that correct voice. We need that voice that's sort of like, it's not his first rodeo. He's done it before. Not on the scale of Manchester United, but the same concepts apply from Hoffenheim through to Leipzig, through to Manchester United. Things that he's done there, he can now bring into United and change, as I said, changing that thought process. And that's, I think Ant's completely right there. If he gets listened to, then I absolutely have some real hope about what's coming next. Got a comment there from Zig saying, what will happen to Rangnick? We have 1 month and a half left and the club didn't address this for a long time. I hope, and we all hope, that when Rangnick ends this season, he goes into a consultancy role and he's genuinely actually consulted. It's like going to your doctor and your doctor telling you what's wrong with you and you go, well, that's all right, doc. I Googled it and I'm pretty sure I know what I've got. It's not the case. Doctors know best. That's why they're consultants. That's why they get consulted. I like to think that he gets listened to. As Darren says down there in the comments, we need Bob the Builder, not Cowboys. Bob the Builder. It's been a few years since I watched that. Martin, let's add Kane, Rice, and Bellingham to them as well. Well, Kane, Rice, and Bellingham. I do not think that we are going to be getting all 3 of them. That's what I think. Success is when preparation meets opportunity. I do love that sentence. Sometimes, is it cliche? No, it's not cliche. I can't remember the name of the word. But it's just like, it's a lesson to live by. And I remember speaking about that with Anthony Elanga because he hit the gym hard before this season. Went into the preseason where there were so many players who weren't there because of Euro 2020. Took his preparation there and met his opportunity. What happened? Elanga's now broken into the first team. He's a Manchester United senior player. And he's broken into the Swedish international setup. Success. There you go. But look, this I definitely found interesting. And this is Rangnick on Louis van Gaal. Obviously, Louis van Gaal ruffled a few feathers during the international break when he said that if Erik Ten Hag was really wanting to go to a football club, he shouldn't go to Manchester United. Manchester United are nothing more than a commercial club. Now, Louis van Gaal is right in saying that, but it did kind of feel like it came from a slightly bitter angle. I don't think it was designed just to help Erik Ten Hag. This is what Rangnick's had to say in those comments. He goes, when any rich person or company buys a club, as long as they pass the fit and proper person test, which the Glazers didn't, although they did, it is a commercialized business. That is for sure, no matter which club and in which city. Now, I thought that was a very good comment, a very correct comment. It's just like it or lump it. That's just what modern football is. And it will never change. It's only going to get worse. Newcastle have been Saudi Arabia have been allowed to buy Newcastle. We've got a state-owned club there. You've got a state-owned club in City. And I would be very, very surprised if they are the only two in like 4 or 5 or 6 years' time. Somebody else will buy someone up. I don't know who, but it's somebody. And yeah, going into the detail in a little bit, going into a little bit more detail about what Van Gaal said. This was the latest. This was what else Rangnick said. He goes, Louis van Gaal, as an experienced coach, signed a contract here some 7 or 8 years ago, and he could have known that in advance if he had that opinion that Manchester United is a commercial club. Again, he's completely and utterly right when he says that. Louis van Gaal knew what Manchester United was before he came to Manchester United. He's an experienced old dog in the game. He's been around the block. He's been there in the 90s with Ajax. He's been there in the 2000s with Bayern Munich and Barcelona. And he's been there, well, Jesus, everything. So he knows about the commercialization of football. It's obviously something he's massively against. And it's something I'm completely against. But shit, there's nothing you can really do about it now. And going into these comments in a little bit more detail, I love this one because in my opinion, this is a little dig back at Louis van Gaal. It's always good if you have money available to sign players, but the question is, do you sign the right players? Because I'll tell you what, we've Manchester United have been bad in the transfer market, haven't we? We've been awful in the transfer market. But you could argue that those 2 years under Louis van Gaal, they might have been some of the worst in terms of what we were spending. Look, in 2014-15, his first year, we spent 175 million. We bought Di Maria. Question marks as to whether or not Di Maria was a club signing or whether it was a Louis van Gaal signing. Luke Shaw, I would say that was a success. 30 million seems more than reasonable for Luke Shaw. And I think it would have been very different had he not broken his leg. And a Herrera, 30 million. I'm saying that's a good signing as well. Marcus Rojo, 18 million. Nah, not a good signing. Blind, 15 million. Probably one of the best signings. But 170 odd million. And how many of these players are here now? Gone. Luke Shaw is the only one who still remains. Maybe that's a little bit different because it's like 8 years ago. So that's kind of wrong for me to say that. But going on to the year after, Martial, 54 million. Schneidlin, 30 million. Memphis, 30 million. Matteo Darmian, 16 million. Schweinsteiger for 8 million. Another 140 million. On top of the 170 million he spent. Ralf is so. This is one of the best things he said. Manchester United, really, it's not been about the lack of investment from the Glazers in the last 8 years. I think what they've been doing is overcompensating for the underinvestment that happened in the 10 years prior to that, because we had the genius of Fergie, which gave us the extra edge. But there's no point. I've told you this before. It's like being drunk or stoned and going into a supermarket. You're like, oh, I'll just get that. You're hungry, you're thirsty, you just get everything. Throw it all in the trolley. That's what Manchester United have been like in the transfer market. Our hit ratio is so bad. Whereas if you look at the hit ratio of Liverpool and City, it's incredible by comparison. It's like Luis Diaz. I think had they not signed Luis Diaz in January, I don't think Liverpool would be in the title race at this moment in time. He's definitely come and sort of just given them an extra edge that gives them that extra confidence going into the last bit of the season. And now, as United fans, we've got to sit here now and just watch our two biggest rivals battle it out again for the Premier League title. Joy of joys. Collins, how you doing there, buddy? Nice to see you there joining the family. Let me know where you're watching from, and I'll try and give you a shout out, Collins. And Jedi, you're saying the club is fractured. We need togetherness, not fighting with the Glazers. The club's been fractured for a long time, Jedi. I don't really think that's going to be changing anytime soon, in my opinion, anyway. I don't think that the Glazers are going to be leaving anytime soon. Again, that's my opinion. But if they weren't going to leave after the Super League, and you've seen all the broken promises, I'm going to be doing a video on Gary Neville's comments on the Glazers. I was going to do it yesterday. But again, the timing didn't feel completely right. Football's back today. So I did my preview and my predicted 11 yesterday. But as you can see on the channel, no one really comes to United People's TV to see what I think ahead of the game. Sometimes people come and see what I think about the game. But the kind of community that we've built here on United People's TV, it's more about taking a step back from the football itself and talking about the wider problems at the club, the bigger problems at the club, the bigger conversations. That's what I like talking about. It's what we like talking about. I like seeing United win things. Not going to win anything this year, though. And don't you dare say that word down in the comments. I'm not even going to repeat. You can look in the comments, see what you said there. But I'm not talking about City or Liverpool winning anything like that. Chai is saying United treating Ralf Rangnick like dirt. Well, we don't know that. We absolutely don't know that. And if Ralf was being treated like dirt, I think we'd know it right now. It's like going in home bargains for some milk and corn with a lot of crap and you spent 20 quid. Exactly. It's just going in there, just shoving it all in the trolley. That's what United have done. Our hit ratio has to improve. We need someone like Paul Mitchell coming in and with an experience. I've again, wax lyrical seems to be my buzzword this morning. All buzzwords. Talking about hit rates and what he's done and spotting talent, whether it's bringing Heung-min Son into Spurs, whether it's bringing Sadio Mane into Southampton, whether it's bringing Christopher Nkunku and Amadou Haidara to Leipzig. He's a man who spots talent for players that grow, players whose value as an asset increases as well. So the Glazers will be happy. It's just a win-win situation when you have proper scouts. And given that we've developed our scouting department, that's what Amad Diallo was, right? We dropped 30 odd million on a teenager who, let's be honest, he played 90 minutes of football in Serie A with Atalanta by the time we'd signed him. And we've now loaned him out to Rangers. He's struggling physically. Of course you are. It's going to be it's the Scottish League. That's kind of what it is. But we need more. It's not just about signing. I've told you this already. I want the transfer policy this year to be Man United signing players between the ages of 21 and 25. Prime players who are on the cusp of really taking that step up to being an elite top-level player. Someone like Sancho is ahead of his years. Someone like Bellingham is ahead of his years. Someone like Haaland is ahead of his years. But they're easy to spot. Not easy to spot, but now, at this age, they're easy to spot. We did try and sign Bellingham, so all credit to us in that sense. And we have been better with our youth recruitment, that's for sure. But I don't know. We'll speak more about transfers as the season goes on. Collins is saying, I just joined as a member. How do I get to the WhatsApp group? Collins, if you go to the homepage on YouTube and you click on the community tab, there'll be a link to the WhatsApp group in there. I'm looking forward to seeing you in there, buddy. Wasn't QPR the richest club in the world at one point? They might have, were they? Well, I remember when QPR absolutely spunked all that money on the wages and they got relegated and it went well down there. Good morning from Good evening from Bangkok. Nice to see you there, Chai. Hopefully you can get to go and watch the game against Liverpool on the 12th of July. But I'll be honest, it looks like most fans out there in Thailand are going to be priced out of that game. But look, speaking of the game, let's talk about the game, mate. Let's have 5 quick minutes to talk about the Leicester game tonight. I gave my opinion on the game yesterday. I said I don't think there's going to be much of a change from a team that lost to Atletico Madrid. I think Luke Shaw will probably come in at left back. Ralf Rangnick's been speaking about the availability. Everyone's pretty much available, of course, apart from Edinson Cavani, who, lo and behold, is injured again. Love Cavani. Love his locks. Love his hair. Can't wait for him to leave. Like it when he plays. Love it when he plays, in fact. He doesn't play enough. I can't wait for Cavani to be out of the club and for Manchester United to be moving on with a younger, fresher striker that we can actually, rely on to be there more than once every 4 weeks. It's not necessarily Cavani's fault. He's 35 and given the style of play, very intense, very physical. It's no surprise that his body's started to give up on him. And he's not Cristiano Ronaldo. Cristiano is his own freak of nature. Undub, you're saying morning from Germany. I hope you know if we sign young players, we'll need time for getting back to the glory days. I'm not just saying sign young players for the sake of signing young and double. I'm saying Someone like Christopher Nkunku, who was spotted at the age of 21 with the talent, and he's grown into this great player. But he was already a decent player before. I'm not saying sign a load of Amad Diallos and just like cross your fingers. It's about spotting players that they're not in that top. As I said, that if you were like a level 1 scout and you were going out there and you were trying to scout strikers for Manchester United, probably the top 2 names on your list are going to be Erling Haaland and Harry Kane. You do not have to be a scout to have Erling Haaland and Harry Kane atop of your list. But you do have to be a scout to be able to identify that player that you can probably sign for between 40 and 60 million-ish, that in a year or two's time will be worth 60 to 80, 80 to 90. That player, those level of players, that's where your scouts do their job. That's what Manchester United, I really want them to do. Yogi, you're saying, any idea when the further talks with Ten Hag are scheduled? Not at this moment in time. But yeah, you might be right there in the comments. I can't remember who said it earlier. You're saying, look, maybe that second interview is going to be the opportunity for Manchester United to speak about this plan, to speak about it going forward. Yeah, you might be completely right. I hope you are. I hope that's what it's going to be. The second interview is going to be like, you got the job. I don't know why I did that accent. You're saying you got the job. Let's speak about the announcement. But I don't think they'd had that conversation too much with Ten Hag, would they? They probably had that conversation more with Ajax. But looking at the team news tonight, there may well be a bit of a curveball. Cristiano Ronaldo was not with the Manchester United squad last night. It's from Samuel Luckhurst from the Manchester Evening News. So maybe Cristiano Ronaldo's not going to be fit to play tonight. They played twice with Portugal in the international break. Certainly played once, obviously the 2-0 win over North Macedonia to get a place in the World Cup finals, thanks to 2 goals from Bruno Fernandes, who, of course, signed a new deal till 2026, baby. Bruno's going to be fit to play, but Cristiano Ronaldo might not be. So if Ronaldo's not in, who do you play? Do you go back towards Bruno as the false 9, like we did against City? Obviously, you got absolutely annihilated against City. But is it Bruno there, Sancho on the right, Elanga on the left? Or do you throw Rashford in as the number 9? You let me know what you think. And in the comments is saying that it's a bit of a late fitness test maybe for Ronaldo. Maybe Ronaldo will start. But it's a bit of a spanner in the works there. If you're looking at Leicester don't have Jamie Vardy. Leicester don't have Wilfred Ndidi. Decent. Jamie Vardy being out of their team is great news for Manchester United. He's a bit of a thorn in our side. I remember that game at Leicester, the season where they were winning the Premier League and they won the Premier League, and Vardy was 1 goal off equaling, or was it beating Van Nistelrooy's record of scoring in like 7? That bloke there had the record of scoring. I think it was in 8 consecutive Premier League games. It might have been a little bit more, but I remember against United, Vardy either equaled that record or broke it. Bastards. Jeddah, you're saying play O'Neill. I don't think that will happen just yet. You might mean McNeil. Charlie McNeil, he will come through at some point, but he won't be thrown in because we've got injuries to Ronaldo and Cavani. When it comes to academy players coming through, they have to come through in the right environment at the right time. Bringing through an academy player simply because you got, Rashford did, because that was a little bit, I suppose, it's a little bit different. Or is it different? If they're good enough, they're old enough, right? That is the old, I think it was Busby who said that. Paul, you think it was 8? Josh, you think it was 9 when it comes to Vardy? Sod it. I don't really care what it was. He still managed to break it. My gut instinct is telling me that United will win tonight and probably do it quite comfortably. But I've said that on quite a few occasions this season, haven't I? And it hasn't exactly worked out every time. Leicester are just a mid-table team now. It's not all falling apart. They're in the Europa League, Europa Conference League, I think it is, against PSV in the quarterfinals. Let's see what goes on there. Hopefully, Ruud van Nistelrooy's team to be can knock them out. But I'm not particularly worried about Leicester, man. Leicester aren't that team anymore. They're really not. We should be beating them at Old Trafford, but this is Manchester United, right? It's going to be interesting to see how the players approach this, because mentally we've been fragile and weak all season long. It's completely true. We have been at the key moments in key games. We just don't have that sort of quality. So it's going to be interesting to see what that mentality is like tonight when effectively the season is done. So I think. Araf with a comment there saying, why did we sell Evans again? Evans, I believe, was sold because of a lack of opportunity. It was a bit like when PK went to Barcelona. It wasn't because PK was a crap defender. It was because Manchester United simply had too much quality in Vidic and Ferdinand that Piqué knew he was never going to break through and become that first choice centre-back. Johnny Evans was a very similar thing. A player who left Manchester United not because he was a crap player, but because he knew that his pathway to being that first-team player just wasn't there. Evans was a decent player at Manchester United, always reliable, prone to a certain mistake, yes, but I definitely wouldn't put him down as a bad defender in the same way that John O'Shea wasn't an incredible player, but Christ, he was a good player inside that squad. And Evans went on to have a very steady career outside of United. Absolutely. And you're saying they might not be the team anymore. But let's not forget, we haven't beat them in the last 4. If Tielemans is on it tonight, he's going to cause us serious trouble. By the way, saw rumours that Tielemans will be available for 25 million this summer. Would you, at that price, would you want Manchester United to sign Tielemans? You let me know in the comments. Type yes or no, and I'll gauge in the comments. But Tielemans for 25, that'd be cheap. That'd be cheap as hell. I think so anyway. Hey, look, if anybody's got any comments or any questions, fire them in. I'll give another 5 minutes, another few minutes here at the end of the stream. You can always ask me your questions. Let me do a quick recap for anybody who's joined in a little bit late. And also, if you would please consider dropping a like on the video for this extra Saturday stream. As I said, there was just too many stories that came out last night from Mike and it's in the Telegraph out in Holland, and also from Rangnick in his comments on the situation that I wanted to speak about it all before we play tonight. Because as soon as we play tonight, the conversation changes. Let's go down here and see what you think. And you're saying, I'm 25 miles from Leicester. I will go there personally and pick him up. Yes, Stephen, you think so as well. Lee, you definitely would. Paula, Wazza, Clint, Bald, in a heartbeat. Yes. All right, Arif, you say no, and so does Benham. Not all of you say yes. I would say let's go for an 80-20 split. You would say that. I mean, at 25 million, especially with Paul Pogba leaving, hell to the yes, you would take Tielemans. Is he the sort of midfielder who comes in and sorts us? No, absolutely not. But at 25 million, it's about making signings like that. It's not just about your 100 million Declan Rices. It's not just about your 100 million Harry Kane. Manchester United need to make this squad. And next season, we get 5 subs a game. So much opportunity next season onwards in the Premier League to change the course of how a Premier League game is going. And therefore, the quality and the strength in depth that you need and the benefit of having that strength in depth has just gone up a notch. That's why a lot of people are saying, it's just only going to favour top 6 clubs. But being realistic, Hassan Huttler's been a big advocate of it. Graham Potter at Brighton as well. Quite a lot of the non-top 6 managers have been happy about the fact that there's going to be 5 subs in the Premier League next season. Manchester United right now, that's not something that's going to benefit us, is it? I don't think our squad has enough depth to really use those 5 subs properly. But that happens next year. And I hope that does happen. And I hope that Manchester United, it will happen, sorry. But I hope United can actually really strengthen our squad. And if someone like Tielemans is available for 25 million, that should kind of be a no-brainer. That's just like a really excellent Premier League proven quality midfielder strengthening your midfield. It's not exactly what we need, but Pogba leaving, boom, wages straight to Tielemans, and you got leftover wages too. I would like that. Josh, you're saying I prefer if we went for Neves, if I'm honest. I prefer if we went for Neves, but Neves is going to cost at least double that, if not a bit more on top. Once upon a time, even at the start of last season, last summer, we could have got Neves for about 35, 40 million, I reckon. This summer, I think you're probably looking more towards 50 to 60, roughly, for Neves anyway. But look, a quick recap for anybody who's just joined in, and make sure you drop a like on the video. Come on, peeps. This is from Mike last night, as I said. Mike Verweij out in the Telegraph with the Netherlands. He's saying, look, that Ten Hag is the top candidate. 2 million euros is the compensation package. That's cheap as hell. And he also went on to say this, which is the important thing. He said, I think the decision will already be made before the end of the season, but it won't be officially communicated until the season is done. So that's something we've got to take into consideration, people. There may not be an official announcement on Ten Hag or Poch before the end of the season. I think it'll be different with PSG. If it was Poch, that could happen. And maybe that's going to be how we know, right? Because of what happens with Poch. We spoke about Van Nistelrooy at PSV. We spoke about the fact that Ten Hag's got 2 actual firm offers now. One from a Bundesliga club, which I think we can presume is Dortmund. But again, that's presumption. It might not be Dortmund. Could be Leipzig, of course. And one English club, which we don't know. We went and speak about Anthony. We spoke about all Ralf Rangnick's comments. Hey, look, there's lots and lots we talked about this morning. Let me head down to the comments. If you've got any questions or comments, fire them in now. 2 minutes. I'm just going to look at the comments, read a few more of your opinions out. As I said, I try to make this interactive as possible. I like to think it's the most interactive United show out there. And I try to be as impartial as I can. It's not always just about my opinion. I do some of my shorter videos that are about my opinion, but this is more about the community and getting you involved. How are we doing? Ashley, nice to see you there. I'm sorry I'm late. Just pay for Erik. We need him. It's not about the money, mate. 2 million for sure. That's cheap as hell. How you doing, Red? You're saying Rashford has to go. He's been a passenger way too long now. It's time we offload him. He's not young anymore. People have to stop playing that card. I don't think too many people are playing the young card with Rashford. I've certainly not really seen that too often. But last season, I wouldn't say he was a passenger. I would say he was one of the carriers. Not that we massively succeeded, but he was a very important player for Manchester United last year. And I don't think anybody can deny that. And the year before was when he went toe-to-toe with Martial for top goal scorer. So he was very good that year. Rashford this year has been a complete and utter passenger. This season hasn't existed for Marcus Rashford. And this season hasn't existed for Luke Shaw. And this season hasn't existed for Harry Maguire. It's almost like England lost the Euro 2020 final at Wembley on penalties. And they've all been affected by that. And I think people have downplayed that. I've said that especially with Rashford. It's one thing I'll never ever forgive Gareth Southgate for was bringing Rashford and Sancho on in the 120th minute against Italy at Wembley and getting him to take penalties. So unfair, so ridiculously unfair on those players. I personally would disagree with you, Red. There, I don't think that Rashford has to go. But I think Rashford knows that next season he knows he's got to turn the screw. And I think Rashford wants to succeed, man. Rashford's on our side. Rashford's a fan as much as he is a player. Has he been distracted by everything that he's been doing off the pitch? Probably. The amount of good work that he's been doing, I'll be very surprised if part of his mind isn't always thinking about that. He's been one of the only people that's been able to actually get Boris Johnson to do the moral thing. He's got the Prime Minister to do a U-turn on 3 different occasions and help thousands of families and children by doing that. Will I begrudge him for doing that? Absolutely fucking not. He's fantastic. He's such a role model for all young kids growing up and for a lot of adults as well, and for every one of those Manchester United players. So, yeah, I do give Rashford a bit of leeway and a bit more time to come back around than maybe I would for someone else. Maybe I didn't for Anthony Martial. But I absolutely think that Rashford next season will come back stronger, fitter, and ready. And I think we'll be happy to have him. That's my opinion. And look, if it doesn't happen next season, then yeah, I think you're probably right. I think Rashford, we can probably talk about the concept of him moving on. But I'm not going to be throwing him under the bus anytime soon. I don't think so anyway. Let's go down here, read a few more. Ashley, since you just joined in. What do you think of Popper's comments that the season's over, even if it's the players, in my opinion, like him and Maguire and others have caused this, and Rashford needs to stay for me? I haven't seen the Popper comments, but guys, the season is over. We've got as I said, we've got like a 10% chance. A 10% chance of getting inside that top 4. And it relies on Arsenal playing crap. Because by the time we play Arsenal, we've already played away at Liverpool. So not only have we got to win our games, and I've told you, it's like this game against Leicester tomorrow is the easiest game on paper that we've got in the next few games. You might argue that playing Everton at Goodison Park is an easier game. Look at them, they're in the relegation zone. Don't be foolish. Goodison Park has always been a crap ground for us in the last few years, and they will know that. They will be up for that. They're in a relegation scrap. I would probably back Everton to win that game, for being completely honest. Just what my instinct is telling me. And then we play Norwich, another team in a relegation scrap. Not playing those teams at the right time. And then you've got Liverpool away before we play Arsenal away in the space of 4 days. Jeez, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough for United, but it has to, at this point, has to be 3 points against Leicester, and then let's just see what comes on next. But look, ending on the Rashford note, we'll have a conversation about Rashford, a more in-depth conversation. But for me, I'm not throwing him under the bus. I don't want him to leave Manchester United, but I want him to sort of listen to what Wayne Rooney said. Get your head out of your fucking ass. Pull your socks up, man. lead by example, because you were leading by example last year, and he was doing that with a ankle ligament damage and a damaged shoulder. It is what it is, man. Things going wrong at United, but hopefully things will start going right for United. Hey, look at that. We'll end it now on an hour. Look at that. A full hour stream on a Saturday morning. How unfortunate of you that I've wasted an hour of your morning. Sorry about that. Looks quite nice outside. Might go for a walk before the game at 5:30. I'll be here for the Leicester game. But yeah, as I said, the reason I did this stream this morning was because we've got a game tonight, and there were too many talking points, little snippets of updates that I wanted to run through and have a conversation with you. So I did in the comments. But look, thank you very much, everybody, for joining in on this Saturday. Please, if you would consider that you're still here, drop a like on the video and subscribe to United People's TV if you're new. I'll be back here, as I said, later on with my match reaction. And I'll be back on Sunday with another video as well. Maybe not a live stream because I might have a line then. But look, thank you very much for joining in. I hope you all enjoyed it. I'll speak to you soon. Take it easy. And United better win tonight. Seriously, United better win.